Welcome to this week's edition of Let's Talk Schools. I'm Mike Looney, the Superintendent of Schools and your host. Today I have with me two very special guests, Dr. Ryan Moore. Could you introduce yourself and tell what you do?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Looney. My name's Ryan Moore. I'm the Executive Director of Strategy and Governance, and I oversee charter schools, program evaluation, and our School Governance Council processes and elections and functions.
Wow. And Ms. Foster, how about you?
Yes, my name is Gina Foster, and I serve as the School Governance Analyst for School Governance. And I work with Dr. Moore. So glad to be here with you today.
Thank you, too, for joining me. You know, when I moved to Fulton to become the superintendent, the idea of a school governance council was new to me. And that's unique to Georgia. It's unique to specific school districts. So, Dr. Moore, can you describe how we have come to have school governance councils?
Yeah, in 2012, Fulton became the largest charter district in the state of Georgia. And it was really built around the idea that our schools are diverse, they have different needs. And so as a way to accommodate the needs of those individual schools and increase parental involvement, we created, as a part of our charter district, school governance councils. And that allows for teachers, community members, parents, and even at the high school level, students to engage in strategic planning alongside their principal to really talk about the needs and strategic mission of the individual schools. And it really is a unique piece of Fulton's culture.
So I want to dig into school governance councils and what they do and who they are and how it operates. But you said something on the onset, and that is that we are a charter district. Mm-hmm. So what benefits are there to being a charter district versus just a traditional school district?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Dr. Looney, and a lot of people get confused because they think about charter schools. But as a charter district, what that gives us is broad flexibility. And where that flexibility comes in, we can waive certain state law, we can waive Georgia Department of Education rules, and we can even allow for individual schools to waive certain board policies. There is a list of defined non-negotiables, things about accountability, safety, and security. We're not allowed to waive those, but we have pretty wide range of options if we're going to waive those policies or rules in order to support the students in our schools. And that's really unique. We're also unique in Fulton County Schools that we leverage flexibility at the district level. We create some universal waivers where schools can opt in. And then we still allow for school level flexibility beyond that, which is unique to have that tiered system in Fulton County Schools.
So certainly the notion of flexibility from state rules and regulations laws sounds very appealing. Mm-hmm. And the same would be true, I suspect, for our schools, right? More flexibility from district rules and regulations. But any kind of flexibility might not be in the best interest. So how do we make judgments about what is approved for flexibility and what isn't approved?
Yep, and Ms. Foster can jump in on this too, but we have a value-added flexibility process that schools have to go through when they're talking about flexibilities at the school site, and that's really almost a research-based application. They have to provide a problem statement, justify their research and what data is suggesting that they need to make this particular change, and also talk about budget impacts, personnel impacts, and finally, what evaluation are they going to conduct at the local school level to make sure that that flexibility is working for the students that they serve. We certainly don't want to be in a position where schools are just experimenting without any results, and so we've baked some of those pieces into the process so we can ensure that those flexibilities are having the intended outcomes.
I think that the consumers here are our consumers, our taxpayers, and our moms and dads that send their kids to Fulton County Schools will be proud of the fact that we are a charter district and have leveraged some of the flexibility that we do have and we enjoy. But we have to show that we're making gains with that increased flexibility. So how does the SGC work? How does it operate? Is it a district level thing? Is it a school level thing? Who comprises the School Governance Council?
So on the School Governance Council, we have 3 parents, and they are elected. We also have 2 teachers who are elected, and we have 2 community members who are nominated to the council, and then the council votes on those members. And then the principal can also appoint 2 school employees. So it's comprised of a very diverse group of people. And what I love about SGCs is the fact that you have diversity of thought at the table. So you get the teacher's perspective, you get the parents' perspective, and everyone has a different, perspective on different ideas when they come to the table. So that's the beauty of SGCs. Everyone coming together, thinking through strategic planning, thinking through how they want to monitor the goals that they've set in place for the school for the year, and then thinking about how they want to spend those charter funds. Because we are a charter district, we get some charter funds. And so how would you like to spend those charter funds to think innovatively for your school?
So I'm glad you used the word SGC, which stands for School Governance Council, because in education, a lot of times we use educational leads, and so that's short for School Governance Councils. So this is a committee of parents, community members, and educators or employees at a local school. And what kind of terms do they serve? And you said they were elected. Who are they elected by?
Right. So right now we're actually in our election process. And so teachers and parents can declare candidacy. And so with that process is great because teachers can vote for teachers and then parents will vote for parents. And so the term is a 2-year term. And we have it staggered so that all parents aren't rolling off at the same time or all teachers aren't rolling off at the same time. So it's a great process, but our department provides a lot of training. So we provide training for officer positions on the council. So we ask that, they step up and take some leadership roles. They can be the chair, the vice chair, or the parliamentarian. So it's a great process to get everyone's thoughts together when coming to the table.
So Dr. Moore, could you give me a recent example, if you can, of something that the School Governance Council decided or recommended to the leadership of a building that they've implemented, and we were like, wow, we should have thought of that earlier?
Yeah, I can give you a very recent example, Dr. Looney, and it's led to some changes in our board policy manual. So Alpharetta High School, which was recently awarded one of the Governance Councils of the Year by the Charter System Foundation, their Governance Council was examining credit recovery. And we've developed some processes for students to recover individual assignments if they fail or don't do well. But the school was looking deeper. What happens to a high school student when they fail a course? And what options can we provide for that student so they can get back on track and eventually graduate? And so they've come up with some very innovative models to allow for students to do that while they're taking their normal course content. So it puts them in somewhat of an accelerated path to get back on track. And that innovation was approved by our board for them to allow them to do that. But what's happened too, it's led to the board adopting their own policy around credit recovery to say, you know what, this is an example of the school showing us where we had a gap in our own policy manual, and that's now going to shape the entire district so that schools across the district will have that same opportunity to get kids back on track if they're falling behind in high school.
Really good. And that innovation came from a conversation with moms and dads and school employees and administrators and community members talking about what value can we add for students' education in a specific school. That's an incredible story. I'm glad that we've learned from that and now we're going to spread that knowledge across our school district a little bit further. So, there is sometimes when you have groups and committees that do work, sometimes the work gets bogged down a little bit. So what is it that the district does to share those ideas that kind of make its way through the pipeline? Is there a website? Is there information that people can find somewhere about when the sausage is being made in those SGC meetings where it gets mired down and but something good comes out of it?
Right. Ms. Foster, you want to take that one and talk about some of our resources?
Yeah, so we have tons of resources on our Charter District website. We have a suite of trainings. So we provide trainings for new people coming on board. So we have onboarding training. We have committee trainings because within the SGC, there are 2 committees. So there's the Communication and Outreach Committee as well as the Budget and Finance Committee, which work with the principal to look at the school budget to make sure that they're aligning their goals with their budget. We also have the VAF, our new VAF flexibility training. So we have a
So
suite
what
of
does VAF stand for?
value added flexibility. Yes, we use all the different A, B, C, D, E, F, Gs, huh? So yes, VAF is value added flexibility that Dr. Moore was just speaking about. So we have a lot of trainings that you can go onto the website, and it's asynchronous that you can go on and view it at any time. We also have our handbook, our operating guideline handbook for new members to really understand what school governance is, because it is a public entity. And so all SGC meetings are open to the public. We ask that they have at least 6 meetings a year, but they have them basically every month. So we really provide a lot of resources for our SGC members. And so they can also call us at any time and ask us any questions, and we just provide those those resources for them.
You talked about this website. What is the address? Let's give folks the address to go to. Is it right off the Fulton County Schools website? And if so, how do they navigate to the school governance?
So Dr. Looney, it's really easy. If you go to fultonschools.org and there's an Our District tab, and Charter System is the second link down on the left. So it is
Our district.
Our District Charter System. And on that page, there is a list of resources, trainings, talks about all the different acronyms we've talked about today, elections, value-added flexibilities, ways to get involved. So it really is a robust menu of supports for our stakeholders.
So in all the school governance council meetings, you said are public meetings.
Yes.
And so therefore, the minutes from those meetings should be available, I assume, to parents and to their broader public. And do they get that off the website too?
Yes, so they can get that documentation from the individual school website. So every school has a school governance website. And so when there's a meeting, SGCs will post their agendas on those on that website. There's a link, because right now most of the meetings are happening virtually. So they can click the link to participate in those meetings, and they can see all the documentation. They can see the agenda, they can see the meeting minutes and things like that.
So would it be fair to describe the process this way? School Governance Council exists in all of our schools, and they develop a plan based on their strategic goals at the individual school level. Elected members from the community, parents, and teachers craft that plan and ensure that that plan is implemented along with the school administration. And you mentioned money. So where does the money come from?
So every year, as a part of the governor's budget, they do have a charter system grant that they choose to include or not include in the budget. Fulton County Schools has received that grant every year that we've been a charter district. We then allocate that money to schools for SGC use. And so the SGC has to vote on the use of those funds, but it's gone to all different types of initiatives, whether that's professional training for staff, whether it's additional resources to supplement instruction, or even community support and outreach efforts. But it's a pot of money that the principal and the SGC work to spend together, and that does have to go through SGC voting approval.
And that flexible funding can be used for anything, or does it have to be tied to something specific in the school?
Yeah, we do tell, and our guidance is really to align that to the school's mission and vision or the district's mission and vision, because we don't want those to be too far apart. And then they do have to follow our general accounting and budgeting guidelines that we set as a district, so that we do have those rules and parameters in place. One thing that we've done this year, and this can also be found on that charter district website, there is a matrix that tries to provide recommendations that our instructional staff, our student support service team have given examples of, if you're looking to support a group of students in literacy, here are some resources you should consider buying. So it's not a free-for-all, but there's some clear guidance on good ideas to spend the money on.
There is really a way for our parents and our educators to be engaged in the decision-making process, it appears to me, through the SGC process, right?
Yes.
And so I'm glad to be part of a district that listens to the voices of the people that we serve and to our educators that do the work. And so thank you two for joining me today. Any final comments or words of wisdom that you want to share?
You know, Dr. Looney, I've been a a teacher member of a governance council, a principal, and now I oversee the function. And I really do think it's a unique part of Fulton County Schools. And I just encourage all of our parents, teachers, staff members, community members, reach out, get involved, attend a meeting, even if you're not on an SGC, just to learn about what's going on in our schools, because it's truly incredible work.
Awesome.
Yes,
Ms.
same
Foster?
thing. I started out on an SGC, then became the chair, and now as a facilitator for governance, I definitely see the value. So I just would like to encourage all teachers and parents to get involved so you really know what's happening at the school and you have a voice at the table.
Excellent. Thank you for being my guest today. Thank you for joining Let's Talk Schools. We talked about school governance councils. If you want more information, talk to your school principal, your leader, or the parents that serve on the school governance council at your local school. See you next time.